the heck?
Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get a chance to do any skiing with this crazy Montana weather. So in the meantime, I think I'll go ahead and do my first ever gear review. At the beginning of the season, you might have noticed that I did a video where I switched out my headlamp for the new Petzl Bindi headlamp. I've had an opportunity to use this for a while, for the whole season, and I'm prepared to go ahead and give a quick review of it. First, let me just say that I am not in any way, shape, or form sponsored by any company, let alone Petzl. We have 163 subscribers. My only sponsor right now is a coffee company out of Cincinnati, and they only provide me coffee every once in a while, and it happens to be run by my buddy. But hey, I think that's a pretty good trade-off. Secondly, I also wanted to say that just because I use this piece of equipment and I found it to be helpful doesn't mean that I think that you have to use this equipment. It's just a headlamp. Headlamps do the same thing, and there's lots of different great options out there. So if you have been thinking about getting this headlamp and this helps you, great. If you want to get another headlamp, go ahead and get another headlamp. It is perfectly okay. You don't have to get the same equipment that I use. I'm nobody special. So first, let's go ahead and go with the technical specs that every backpacker worry about. The Petzl comes in at a whopping 1.2 ounces. This is pretty lightweight. It is a rechargeable headlamp, so it has a USB charge port at the bottom, and it has a maximum lumen count of 200 lumens. Now, one thing I want to point out about lumens is not all lumens are created the same. One thing that we learned in the shop is there is also quality of lumens. So you may have one headlamp that has 200 lumens and you have another one that has 200 lumens that appears brighter. And again, it's because of the quality of the lumen. I'm actually really impressed with Petzl's quality of lumens, especially lately. I've had Petzl lights before and they've done okay, but at 200 lumens, this headlamp is just every bit as bright as previous headlamps I've had that have been 350 lumens and plus. So definitely a great light so far, and I can tell a difference in that quality of lumen. It also has an IPX4 weather resistance rating. So most of the weather that we encounter in the backcountry, it's going to be able to stand up to. It's not, obviously submersible or anything like that, but unless you're a scuba diver, who needs a headlamp that can go underwater? It has 3 light settings of brightness, and then it also has a red lamp, and the red lamp is also flash. So the first setting is what's known as a max burn time. It's about 6 lumens. It'll go about 6 meters out, and it'll last for about 50 hours. The standard, which is the second brightest, is 100 lumens. It'll go out to about 23 meters, and it'll last for about 3 hours. And then at maximum light, which is the 200 lumens, it'll penetrate to 36 meters, and it'll last about 2 hours. The reserve mode, which is what happens when the battery gets to a certain point, it will flash and then go into the lowest possible setting. The reserve battery will last about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I've only experienced this once, and I'll get into that here at the end of the video when I talk about some of the issues that I had. The red lamp itself will only go about is only 1 lumen. It goes about 25 meters, or I'm sorry, 2.5 meters, and it'll last approximately 33 hours. And then the strobe effect is visible up to 400 meters and will last about 200 hours. So definitely a good safety option there. So what do I like about this headlamp? It's extremely lightweight, extremely compact, and it also has 2 lockout features so you don't run down your battery. The first one is a manual. So if you hold this down until this little light here flashes, then that manually locks the button out. So now you cannot activate accidentally the light. so you don't have to worry about it bouncing around your pack and accidentally turning on. It also has a rotatable housing, and if you move it till it locks into place, this bar also prevents access to the button. This one is pretty good, although you can kind of knock it out of there with a little bit of force. So I would definitely rely on both lockout features, but definitely a good option to keep the battery from dying out. And then again, to re-release that, you just hold the button down until it comes on, and now it's unlocked. Has a very simple headband. It's just basically an elastic cord with a slide at the back. The slide is kind of necessary unless you have a ginormous melon. And then again, housing makes it very easy for targeting. And if you like to use Nalgene bottles like I do, you can also rotate this around and strap to the bottle to make a lantern. The USB micro USB charger port's pretty easy to use. You can charge it either using a battery pack or you can charge it at home. One of the reasons why I went with this headlamp was I don't go out for super long periods of time, so I have never had to field charge this. If I did, obviously most of my other stuff uses a regular micro USB, so I don't have to bring an extra charging cord. But generally speaking, the battery on this lasts really well. My only negative experience so far, and this is really more of me being an idiot experience, was on the trip up to the crazy mountains. I forgot to charge this before we headed up. And if you remember on that trip, that was kind of stupid because we ended up having to set up camp at night and possibly having to hike at night. So while we were setting it up, I had it on the highest setting and I went into the reserve battery mode, which initially kind of worried me because I didn't think I had that much left. So what I did was I jumped it down to the the max burn time setting, which is the lowest setting, which ended up being plenty of light for what we needed to do around camp and continued to last for a really long time. So in that sense, I didn't end up in a bad situation, but it really could have. So the important thing to remember with any rechargeable light is, one, you don't really know how much battery you burned up in the previous trip, but second, when it's just sitting idle, the battery does lose power over time. And if it's been sitting for a while, you're going to have considerably less battery life. So again, really the only issue that I had was my own issue, and actually the headlamp itself still continued to perform well, and it was suitable for me to get through what I needed to get through. Lesson learned, hopefully. All in all though, I think that this headlamp is really great. I've had a really good experience with it. It is certainly not the cheapest option out there. The price point on this is $44.95. Not super high compared to some of their other headlamps, but it definitely is going to be a higher price point for compared to some of the more budget headlamps. But personally, I think that's a pretty decent price for a pretty good headlamp. So that's about it. I don't know how I did for my first ever gear review. I've been hesitant to do gear, and my camera battery just died. I'm starting to sense a theme and an issue that I really need to work on. So yeah, as I was saying, this is my review of the Bindi headlamp. I've been kind of hesitant to do reviews for a while because it seems like a lot of videos just kind of fall into that rut. But a lot of people showed a lot of interest in my previous video, so I figured why not? Let's give it a shot. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Tell me a headlamp that works really well for you. I'd love to hear what kind of things people use, and as always, keep hiking on. My neighbors didn't think I was crazy before this. They know now.